The Israeli archaeologist's hands trembled as he descended into the newly discovered tunnel beneath the Temple Mount. It was 1981, and his team had been secretly excavating for months, working only at night to avoid detection. 20 meters below the dome of the rock, his flashlight illuminated something that made his blood run cold. An ancient sealed chamber with inscriptions predating even Solomon's time. He reached for the stone door. Then his radio crackled. Muslim guards had discovered the excavation. Within hours, the tunnel was sealed with concrete. The chamber was never opened, and the archaeologist was ordered to never speak of what he'd seen. 40 years later, on his deathbed, he broke his silence. What's buried under the Temple Mount? The answer is more explosive than any political crisis, more valuable than any archaeological treasure, and more dangerous than any secret in human history. The mountain built on mysteries. The Temple Mount sits on Mount Moriah, where Abraham nearly sacrificed Isaac, where Jacob saw the ladder to heaven, where Solomon built the first temple, where the second temple stood until Rome destroyed it in 70 CE. But beneath the current surface lie layers of history: Byzantine ruins, Roman fortresses, Herod's expansion, Solomon's original temple, and below that, structures predating recorded biblical history. Kabbalistic texts suggest this mount sits atop the foundation stone, or Even Shetaya, the literal point where God began creation, where divine and physical realms connect. Since 1967, tension has prevented systematic archaeological exploration. The Muslim Waqf forbids excavation. Israeli authorities fear religious violence. But that doesn't mean excavations haven't happened. They've just happened secretly. The tunnels everyone denies. In the 1980s, Israeli engineers excavated tunnels alongside the Western Wall, ostensibly for tourists and structural stability. But some tunnels went deeper and farther than publicly acknowledged. Workers reported discovering chambers and artifacts that were immediately classified. One engineer, speaking anonymously decades later, claimed his team broke through into a massive underground chamber containing gold and silver objects. Superiors ordered immediate withdrawal and sealed the breach with concrete. The official report listed it as unstable ground. Another account describes a passage leading toward the center of the Temple Mount, toward where the Holy of Holies would have stood. Ground-penetrating radar showed an anomaly with unusual density and geometric precision. Before full exploration, the project was shut down following Muslim riots sparked by rumors of Jewish excavation. The Ark of the Covenant, hidden or lost. The most persistent theory involves the Ark of the Covenant, the gold chest containing the Ten Commandments tablets. The Bible describes it radiating such power that touching it incorrectly meant instant death. The Ark disappeared during the Babylonian destruction in 583 BCE, but ancient Jewish sources claim it was never captured or destroyed. According to the Talmud, the prophet Jeremiah or King Josiah hid the Ark in a secret chamber beneath the Temple Mount before the Babylonian invasion. The texts describe a labyrinth constructed by Solomon specifically to protect sacred objects during danger. Rabbi Shlomo Goren, former chief rabbi of Israel, claimed he knew the Ark's location after entering the Temple Mount area in 1967. He reported discovering sealed chambers matching ancient descriptions. He wanted to excavate immediately, but was forbidden by the Israeli government, which feared geopolitical consequences. Goren spent the rest of his life insisting the Ark remained beneath the mount, intact and accessible. The Knights Templar connection. Between 1119 and 1128 CE, the Knights Templar established headquarters on the Temple Mount and conducted 9 years of excavations beneath it. When they left, they had transformed from a poor military order into the wealthiest organization in Europe. Their sudden wealth has never been adequately explained.
Archaeological evidence confirms extensive Templar excavations. Tools, pottery, and tunnel systems dating to the 12th century indicate systematic searching. Some believe the Templars discovered temple treasures or the Ark itself, which they smuggled to Europe. More controversial theories suggest they found ancient texts or forbidden knowledge, evidenced by the sudden appearance of advanced Gothic architecture in Templar constructions. What ground-penetrating radar reveals? Despite official prohibitions, several teams have conducted covert ground-penetrating radar scans. The leaked results are stunning. Massive underground chambers, geometric structures, and voids suggesting intentional construction. One scan identified a chamber approximately 50 meters beneath the dome of the rock, with dimensions matching ancient descriptions. Another detected a network of tunnels radiating from a central point, exactly what you'd expect if Solomon built an underground complex to protect sacred objects. Israeli archaeologist Dr. Gabriel Barkai has stated publicly that underground chambers definitely exist beneath the Temple Mount. He's examined debris and found First Temple period artifacts, proof that Temple-era structures remain intact underground. The secret governments hide. Here's what makes this explosive. Multiple governments, Israeli, Jordanian, Palestinian, likely know more than they're saying. Access to the truth could trigger immediate religious war. If the Ark were confirmed to be there, pressure to retrieve it would be irresistible to some Jews, while Muslims would view any excavation as unforgivable desecration. If evidence proved the Jewish temple stood exactly where the Dome of the Rock now sits, it would undermine Muslim claims. Conversely, if excavations proved the temple stood elsewhere, it would enable rebuilding the Third Temple without touching Muslim structures, potentially fulfilling prophecy while avoiding war. This is why the truth remains buried. The most dangerous knowledge isn't forbidden, it's just inconvenient to everyone who holds power. Tomorrow, we reveal the most shocking theories. Not just ancient artifacts, but active technology left by a pre-flood civilization.
The researchers sat in a dimly lit archive in Jerusalem, scrolling through declassified documents from 1967. One page stopped him cold. A military engineer's report describing electromagnetic anomalies detected beneath the Temple Mount during post-war surveys. The readings didn't match any known geological formation. They suggested something artificial, something generating a weak but measurable energy field. The report was marked "No further investigation" and buried for 50 years. But the question remained, what's down there that's still active after thousands of years? What if the greatest secret beneath the Temple Mount isn't just what's hidden, but what's still functioning? The foundation stone's impossible properties. Jewish tradition describes the Even Shetiyah, the foundation stone, as the cosmic anchor point where creation began. According to the Talmud, this stone sits directly beneath where the Holy of Holies stood, and through it, God's creative energy flows into the physical world. But here's what's rarely discussed. Ancient texts describe this stone as having extraordinary physical properties. The Zohar claims the foundation stone is partially exposed in a cave beneath the Temple Mount, accessible through hidden passages. Descriptions indicate it's not ordinary rock. It supposedly emanates light, remains perpetually warm, and produces a subtle vibration. Medieval Jewish travelers who claimed to have seen it reported feeling intense energy in its presence, describing effects similar to what modern people report near powerful electromagnetic fields. Some researchers propose the foundation stone isn't a stone at all. It's a structure or device left by an advanced pre-flood civilization, mistaken for natural rock by later generations who found it. The Hebrew word shetiyah can mean foundation, but also drinking or absorption, suggesting something that draws in or channels energy rather than simply supporting weight. The pre-flood civilization theory.
The Bible describes the pre-flood world as technologically advanced, men of renown, giants called Nephilim, and knowledge taught by the Watchers that corrupted humanity. The Book of Enoch provides more detail. Fallen angels teaching metallurgy, astronomy, genetic manipulation, and other sciences that shouldn't have existed in primitive culture. What if some of that technology survived the flood, not in operational form, but buried deep enough to escape destruction? The Temple Mount, being the highest point in Jerusalem and considered the navel of the world in ancient cosmology, would be the logical place to preserve knowledge and artifacts meant to survive cataclysm. Several researchers have noted that Solomon's temple incorporated design elements he couldn't have invented: advanced acoustics, precise astronomical alignments, and architectural techniques not seen elsewhere in the ancient world. The traditional explanation is divine instruction. But what if God was directing Solomon to build on top of, around, or incorporating existing structures from the pre-flood era? The electromagnetic anomalies. In 1967 and again in the 1980s, Israeli military engineers conducting structural surveys detected unusual electromagnetic readings beneath the Temple Mount. The official explanation was mineral deposits or underground water affecting equipment. But leaked reports describe readings that pulsed rhythmically, not random geological interference, but something suggesting regularity, pattern, or purpose. One engineer described readings forming a geometric pattern centered beneath where the Holy of Holies would have stood, with energy signatures extending outward in precise radial lines. This matches ancient descriptions of the temple as a cosmic axis, a point where heaven and earth connect, where spiritual energy flows into physical reality. Modern researchers studying ancient sites like the pyramids, Stonehenge, and other megalithic structures have documented similar electromagnetic anomalies. Some propose these sites were built atop or around natural or artificial power sources, planetary energy vortexes, crystalline formations with piezoelectric properties, or remnants of technologies we no longer understand. Why the Holy of Holies killed? The Bible records that entering the Holy of Holies improperly resulted in instant death. The high priest could enter only once yearly on Yom Kippur, with specific garments, carrying incense, after elaborate purification. Even then, a rope was tied around his ankle to drag his body out if he died inside. Standard religious interpretation attributes this to God's holiness being too intense for sinful humans. But what if it was more physical? What if the Holy of Holies contained or sat atop something generating dangerous radiation or energy fields? The elaborate protocols, specific garments, possibly insulating, incense smoke, possibly shielding, purification rituals, possibly grounding static electricity, could have been practical safety measures preserved as religious law. Ancient accounts describe the Ark of the Covenant as radiating visible light and emitting sounds. It killed those who touched it incorrectly. These descriptions match what you'd expect from a powerful capacitor or energy storage device, not merely a gold-covered wooden box. The forbidden knowledge waiting. If pre-flood technology or knowledge repositories exist beneath the Temple Mount, they've remained sealed for good reason. The antediluvian world was destroyed specifically because humanity misused advanced knowledge. Genetic manipulation created monsters. Weapons caused unprecedented violence. Knowledge meant to elevate was corrupted into tools of domination and destruction. Perhaps the greatest mercy was burying that knowledge so deep that only those with divine authorization, only those building the third temple under prophetic guidance, could access this technology. The wrong people finding this technology could trigger catastrophes, making nuclear weapons look primitive. Or perhaps the knowledge isn't dormant. Perhaps it's waiting, sealed by divine intelligence that will release it only when humanity is ready. When the third temple rises, when the Holy of Holies is reconstructed over the foundation stone, maybe what's been hidden will finally activate fully, restoring the cosmic axis, reconnecting heaven and earth. The Temple Mount isn't just hiding history, it's hiding humanity's future.